When's the last time you cried?
Not to say I'm too much of a man to cry. I think that when you grew up in the ghetto, you all cry out by the time you make a...
Suge Knight is one of the most dangerous men in hip-hop, allegedly at least. These are rappers who were killed by Suge Knight. Suge Knight. Marion Hugh Suge Knight, more famously just known as Suge Knight, was the CEO and co-founder of Death Row Records. He's been behind bars since September 2018 after pleading no contest to voluntary manslaughter in a 2015 hit and run. As for claims that he was responsible for the deaths of two rappers, Tupac Shakur and Notorious B.I.G., no one has been able to definitively prove it, though many suspect him. In fact, Biggie and Tupac aren't even close to the only rappers theorists claim to have been killed by Suge Knight. But what is the evidence that Suge Knight put these famous rappers underground? And who are the other potential victims of this alleged murderous rage? After Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg left Suge Knight's label, allegations began to surface that he was using intimidation and violence in his business dealings. In 1996, a few hours after leaving a Mike Tyson boxing match in Las Vegas, Knight and Tupac Shakur were involved in an altercation with a member of the Southside Compton Crips. Later that night, everything went downhill for Suge. Tupac. Although there's no concrete evidence that Suge Knight was involved in rapper Tupac Shakur's death, many believe that he had something to do with it.
The rapper was shot inside of a BMW while stopped at a red light on Koval and Flamingo. We all know the story. He then died 6 days later.
After the altercation at the Mike Tyson match, Knight and Tupac got into a shootout with some Crips gang members. Whether or not Knight was directly involved in this crime, he still found himself in jail shortly afterwards on charges of assault with a deadly weapon. Russell Poole, an ex-detective for the Los Angeles Police Department, has long theorized that Biggie's death was a distraction killing for Tupac's death. He believes that Knight had killed Tupac before he could part ways with Death Row Records, and then conspired to kill Biggie to divert attention from himself in the Tupac case. And that's the reason that Knight allegedly killed Tupac. Tupac had long been wanting to separate from Death Row Records, and many believe that Knight took him out to prevent him from leaving. Death Row Records had already been suffering from financial issues at this point, as Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre had left the label shortly before Tupac was shot. Losing Tupac would have only compounded the problem, so some think that Knight took him out to prevent it. Notorious B.I.G. The man behind the Notorious B.I.G.'s death is still unknown, and there are no rulings that Suge Knight was involved in any way. However, it's believed that Biggie's death was a possible revenge killing for Tupac's murder. And since some people believe that Suge Knight was involved in Tupac's death, they also make the connection that he was responsible for Biggie's death. There have been numerous theories that suggest that Knight had hired a rogue cop and a mortgage broker named Amir Muhammad to have Biggie killed, as well as covering up the murder. However, these theories haven't been proven, and Suge Knight has never been charged with any involvement in Biggie's death. That being said, when you have people like Snoop Dogg speaking out and saying that Knight killed Tupac, everything seems to tie itself together, and the theories take on even more validity. In 2006, a probe by a law enforcement task force that included LAPD Detective Greg Cadding concluded that Knight had a role in both Tupac and Biggie's deaths. However, no charges have been brought against him for either crime. The reason for no charges being pressed remains unknown, but could be related to the fact that the task force was disbanded due to internal affairs. Other rappers. Although Knight has never been tied to the death of other rappers, the gang ties he has are enough to raise some eyebrows. In the early 2000s, he had a rivalry with two other Bloods gangs, the Fruitown Piru and the Looters Park Piru, which resulted in several deaths from Knight's inner circle. Plenty of the deaths during these feuds were of rappers, and Suge Knight's name was never too far away from any of the cases. Suge Knight may never have been officially tied to the murders of these rappers, but as far as the hip-hop fans are concerned, he's one of the most dangerous men alive today.